The first time I realized my wife had given our children away, I was standing in our daughter's bedroom holding a suitcase she had packed without telling me. Inside were her clothes, school notebooks, favorite stuffed animal, and a photograph of our family. There was only one problem. Our daughter wasn't going anywhere. At least, that's what I thought. I looked at my wife and asked, "Melissa, where are the kids going?" She didn't answer. She just stared at the suitcase. Then she whispered for words that changed my life. "They'll be safer there." I didn't understand what she meant. But within 24 hours, I would discover that my wife had been making plans for our children behind my back. And the reason wasn't another man. It was something far more complicated. Before we continue, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. If you enjoy emotional family stories filled with secrets, betrayal, and unexpected twists, you're in the right place. My name is Daniel Carter. I'm 44 years old, and I live in a quiet suburb outside Charlotte, North Carolina. I work as an electrical contractor. My wife, Melissa, is 42 and works as an accountant. We have 2 children. Our daughter, Emma, is 16. Our son, Noah, is 12. For most of our marriage, I thought we were a normal family. We had arguments, bills, school meetings, weekend errands, family vacations when we could afford them. Nothing extraordinary. Then, about 6 months before everything changed, Melissa started acting differently. At first, I barely noticed. She became protective of her phone. She stopped leaving paperwork around the house. She started making strange phone calls late at night. Whenever I entered the room, she'd lower her voice. I asked her once what was going on. "Work," she said. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my wife. I'd known her for 20 years. But then small things began adding up. One Saturday morning, I found a large envelope in the kitchen. It had been opened. Inside was a letter from a law office. I didn't read the whole thing. I only saw 3 words before Melissa suddenly grabbed it from my hand. Custody arrangement. I looked at her. "What is that?" She folded the letter quickly. "Nothing. Nothing. It's something for a friend." I laughed. "Why would a lawyer send custody documents to our house for your friend?" She didn't answer. That was the first time I became suspicious. But I didn't push. I wish I had. 3 months later, I came home early from work. The house was quiet. I called for the kids. No answer. Then I heard voices upstairs. I walked toward Emma's room. The door was open. Melissa was standing beside a suitcase. Emma was sitting on the edge of the bed. Her eyes were red. I stopped. "What happened?" Neither of them answered. I looked at the suitcase. "Where is she going?" Melissa finally turned toward me. "Daniel, where is Emma going?" She swallowed. "She's staying with someone for a while." "Who?" "My sister." I frowned. "Why?" "Because we think it's better." "We?" She looked at Emma. Emma wouldn't look at me. I walked closer. "Emma, did you know about this?" She whispered, "Mom told me not to tell you." My heart sank. Those words. Again, a child carrying a secret that should never have been placed on her shoulders. I looked at Melissa. "What exactly did you tell her?" "Nothing bad." "Then why didn't you tell me?" She looked away. "Because you wouldn't understand." I felt anger rising. "Try me." She didn't. Instead, she picked up the suitcase. And that's when I noticed something. There were 2 suitcases. One for Emma, and another one outside Noah's bedroom. My stomach dropped. "Where is Noah going?" Melissa closed her eyes. "He's going too." I stared at her. "Both of our children?" She nodded. "For how long?" She didn't answer. "Melissa." Finally, she whispered, "I don't know." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You've been planning this?" She looked at me. "We've been preparing." "Who is we?" Silence. Then Emma spoke. "Dad." I turned toward her. She looked terrified. "Mom says we're not supposed to tell you where we're going." I looked at my wife. And suddenly, the question wasn't just where my children were going. It was why my wife was secretly sending them away from me. That night, after the children went to bed, I sat across from Melissa at the kitchen table. I placed the unopened lawyer's letter in front of her. "You're going to tell me everything." She stared at it. "I can't." "You can." "No." "Why?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Because if I tell you, you might hate me." I leaned forward. I'm already trying to understand why my wife is secretly sending our children away. She looked down at her hands. Then she said something I never expected. "Daniel." She took a shaky breath. "Someone has been watching our family." I froze. "What?" She looked toward the window. "I think they've been watching the children for months." My anger disappeared, replaced by something much worse. Fear. "Who?" Melissa shook her head. "I don't know." Then her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Her face went completely pale. I reached for it. What is it? She pulled it away. Nothing. But I'd already seen the message preview. Only 6 words were visible. You have until Friday. Then we take them. I looked at Melissa. She looked at me. And for the first time in 20 years, I realized my wife wasn't hiding something from me because she didn't trust me. She was hiding something because she was terrified. And Friday was only 4 days away. I read the message again. You have until Friday. Then we take them. 6 words. But they were enough to make my hands shake. I looked at Melissa. Who sent that? I don't know. Don't lie to me. Am not. Then give me your phone. She hesitated. That hesitation told me more than any answer could. Melissa. She finally placed the phone on the table. I looked through the messages. There weren't many. Most had been deleted. But the remaining ones were disturbing. Keep the children away from school tomorrow. Don't involve the police. He cannot know. And then one message from 3 weeks earlier if Daniel finds out. Everything changes. I looked up. What does that mean? Melissa was crying. I was trying to protect you. By keeping me completely in the dark? Yes. You don't get to decide whether I'm allowed to protect my own children. I know. Then tell me who these people are. She shook her head. I don't know. I stood up. Then we're going to find out. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I drove Emma and Noah to school myself. Melissa begged me not to. She stood in the driveway watching us leave. Daniel, please. I lowered the window. I'm their father. She looked like she wanted to say something. Instead, she whispered, be careful. That sentence stayed with me all morning. Because Melissa wasn't talking about traffic. She was talking about someone. After dropping the kids off, I drove to the law office listed on the letter. The attorney's name was Karen Mitchell. She was in her late 50s and immediately recognized my wife's name. When I explained why I'd come, she became very serious. Did Melissa send you here? No. Then I can't discuss her case with you without her permission. It's about my children. I understand. I pulled out my phone. I have messages threatening to take them. Her expression changed. Show me. I handed her the phone. She read the messages carefully. Then she looked at me. Where is Melissa? At home. Karen stood. Call her. I did. She answered on the second ring. Daniel? I'm with Karen. Silence. Then Melissa started crying. Karen said calmly, Melissa, I think it's time you tell him everything. Another silence. Finally, Melissa said okay. Karen looked at me. Come back with your wife. That afternoon, Melissa and I sat in Karen's office. The children were with my brother. I wanted them nowhere near this conversation. Karen closed the door. Melissa, she said, you need to start from the beginning. My wife stared at the floor. Then she finally spoke. 6 months ago, I received a letter. From whom? I asked. Child Protective Services. I frowned. What? They said someone had reported our family. Reported us for what? She looked at me. They claimed you were dangerous. My chest tightened. What? They said you had a history of violence. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was impossible. I've never been arrested. I know. Then why would anyone say that? Melissa's voice broke. Because they had evidence. Karen interrupted. They submitted photographs. What photographs? Melissa looked at me. Pictures of you yelling at the children. I stared at her. What? She nodded. They showed you standing over Noah while he was crying. My stomach dropped. I don't remember that. You wouldn't. What does that mean? She pulled out her phone. Then she showed me the photographs. My blood ran cold. There I was, standing in our kitchen. My face angry. Noah crying. Emma standing behind him. The pictures looked real. But there was one problem. I'd never been in that kitchen wearing those clothes. Not on that day. Not ever. I zoomed in. Something looked wrong. The clock on the wall showed 8:42. But I knew exactly where I'd been that morning. I had been at a commercial job 40 miles away. I had photographs from the work site. Receipts. Employees who could confirm it. I looked at Karen. These are fake. She nodded. That's what we believe. I turned toward Melissa. Why didn't you tell me? Because the report also contained your private information. What kind? Your work schedule. Your bank account. The children's school timetable. I felt a chill. Someone didn't just know our family. Someone had been studying us. Karen placed another document on the desk. There was one more thing. I looked at it. It was a custody petition. Someone had requested temporary custody of our children. And the person listed as the emergency placement wasn't Melissa's sister. It was a woman I'd never heard of. I looked at the name. Rebecca Hall. Who is she? Melissa shook her head. I don't know. Karen leaned forward. She claims to be a relative. Of who? Your children. I stared at the document. Then I noticed the date. The petition had been filed 2 weeks before Melissa ever told me about the problem. Someone had already been planning to take my children. And suddenly, I understood why Melissa had been packing their bags. She wasn't giving them away. She was trying to move them somewhere she believed would be safe. But there was still one question I couldn't answer. Who was Rebecca Hall? And why did she believe she had any right to our children? Then my phone rang. It was Emma. I answered immediately. Emma? Her voice was shaking. Dad, what happened? I think someone is outside school. My heart stopped. Where are you? I'm in the office. Stay there. Then she whispered, Dad, there's a woman here asking for me. I grabbed my keys and ran out of Karen's office. Where are you? I asked Emma. I'm in the main office. Don't leave. I want. Is the woman still there? Emma lowered her voice. Yes. Don't talk to her. I could hear her breathing through the phone. Then she whispered, Dad. She knows my name. My stomach tightened. How? I don't know. They'll be there in 15 minutes. I hung up and looked at Melissa. She was already standing. He'll come with you. No. She stared at me. Daniel, you stay with Karen. Why? Because if someone is watching our family, I don't want both of us walking into the same situation. Karen nodded. She's right. Go get your daughter. We'll start working on an emergency protection order. I didn't waste another second. When I reached the school, 2 police cars were already parked outside. I ran inside. The principal met me in the hallway. Mr. Carter? Where's my daughter? She's safe. I nearly collapsed with relief. Where is she? Counselor's office. I rushed down the hallway. Emma was sitting beside the counselor. The moment she saw me, she stood and ran into my arms. Dad, I've got you. She held onto me tightly. Who was the woman? The principal answered. She identified herself as Rebecca Hall. My heart sank. What did she want? She said she was there to pick up Emma. Did she have authorization? No. Then why was she allowed inside? She wasn't. Our receptionist stopped her. I looked toward the front office. Where is she now? The principal pointed toward the parking lot. She left. I walked to the window. A black SUV was pulling away. I couldn't see the driver's face, but I noticed something. There was a small white sticker on the rear window. A medical symbol. I had seen it before. I just couldn't remember where. On the drive home, Emma sat silently in the back seat. After several minutes, she asked, Dad? Yeah? Is Mom in trouble? I looked at her through the rearview mirror. I don't know. Did she really try to send us away? I hesitated. Your mom was scared. Of what? Someone trying to take you. Emma was quiet. Then she said something that made me grip the steering wheel. Mom has been scared for a long time. I looked at her. What do you mean? She gets phone calls sometimes. What kind? I don't know. When? Mostly after you go to work. My heart started beating faster. Did you ever hear what they said? Emma nodded. Once. What did they say? She looked out the window. They asked Mom if she had told you about Grandma. I almost missed the turn. Grandma? My grandmother? Emma nodded. Mom told them no. I pulled the car to the side of the road. Which grandmother? My mom's mother. I stared straight ahead. Melissa's mother had died when Melissa was 20. ID never met her. At least, that's what ID always believed. But suddenly, another question appeared. What did Melissa's mother have to do with someone trying to take our children? That evening, I confronted Melissa. Not angrily. Not this time. I placed my phone on the table. Tell me about your mother. Melissa went completely still. What? Emma heard someone asking whether you told me about her. Melissa's face changed. She sat down. Daniel, you told me your mother died when you were 20. She did. Then why are people asking about her? Melissa looked at Karen. Karen had come to our house with the emergency paperwork. Melissa closed her eyes. My mother wasn't who you think she was. I waited. She had another family. I frowned. What? She was involved with a man who had another wife. I didn't understand. What does that have to do with us? Melissa looked at me. Everything. She explained that her mother had spent years hiding financial problems and legal disputes. After her death, Melissa discovered that several people believed she had inherited something valuable. But she hadn't. There was no fortune, no secret bank account, no property empire, just unpaid debts and old legal documents. I looked confused. Then why would someone want our children? Melissa reached for another envelope. This. She handed it to me. Inside was an old birth certificate. Not mine. Not Melissa's. It belonged to a woman named Rebecca Hall. I looked at Melissa. Who is she? Melissa's voice trembled. My half-sister. The room went silent. Rebecca? She nodded. She was my mother's daughter from the other relationship. I stared at the document. So she is your half-sister? Yes. And she's trying to take our children? Melissa shook her head. I don't think she wants them. Then what does she want? Melissa looked terrified. She wants what she believes belongs to her. What? Melissa took a deep breath. An inheritance. I frowned. There is no inheritance. I know. Then what is she looking for? Melissa looked at Karen. Karen slowly opened a folder. We found something interesting. She placed an old property record on the table. A small piece of land. It had been purchased by Melissa's mother decades ago, but the ownership had never been properly transferred. And according to the document, the property was now worth millions. I stared at the paper. Why would Rebecca need the children? Karen answered quietly. She may believe the children are connected to the inheritance. How? Melissa looked at me. Then she said the words that made my blood run cold. Because Lily isn't your only child. I stared at her. What? She swallowed. There's another name on my mother's original estate documents. A name ID never heard before. Noah Carter. My 12-year-old son. And suddenly, I realized Rebecca wasn't trying to take our children because of who they were. She was trying to use them to gain control of something their grandmother had left behind. But there was still one thing that didn't make sense. Why had Rebecca waited until now? Then Karen found the answer. The property had been scheduled for sale in 4 days, and someone had already submitted an offer for $4.80 million. The number for $0.8 million kept repeating in my head. I looked at Karen. Who made the offer? She turned the document toward me. A development company. What does that have to do with Rebecca? We don't know yet. I looked at Melissa. You knew about this property? She nodded slowly. My mother mentioned it once. Once. Years ago. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't think it mattered. Karen interrupted. It matters now. She pointed to the bottom of the document. Look at the beneficiary clause. I leaned closer. The original estate agreement stated that if the property were ever sold, a portion of the proceeds would go to Melissa's direct descendants. I looked at Noah's name, then Emma's, then Lily's. My heart sank. That's why she's after the kids. Karen nodded. Rebecca isn't legally entitled to the money. Your children may be. So she wants custody? Possibly. Melissa whispered. She could control the children's inheritance if she became their legal guardian. I stared at her. Everything suddenly made sense. The strange messages, the fake photographs, the custody petition, the woman at Emma's school, the suitcases. Melissa had been trying to move the children somewhere safe because she believed someone was trying to manipulate the legal system to get control of them. But there was still something I couldn't understand. Why didn't you tell me? Melissa looked at me. Because Rebecca threatened me. With what? She said if I went to the police, she'd make sure you lost custody. I felt anger rising again. She had no proof. She had the fake photographs. I went silent. Rebecca hadn't just been threatening my family. She had been building a case against me. The next morning, Karen filed emergency motions to protect the children. She also contacted the authorities about the forged photographs and the suspicious custody petition. For the first time in weeks, I felt like we were doing something instead of simply reacting. Then Karen called me. Daniel, I found something. What? The photographs submitted against you weren't created recently. What do you mean? They were edited from photographs that already existed. Where did they come from? She paused. Your social media. My stomach tightened. I haven't posted anything publicly in years. But Melissa had. Family birthdays, school events, vacation pictures, our house, our neighborhood, everything. Someone had been collecting them. I opened Melissa's account. There were hundreds of old photographs. Then I noticed something strange. One particular account had reacted to dozens of them. The username was meaningless, but the profile picture was a woman standing beside a lake. I zoomed in. It was Rebecca. That afternoon, I met with a private investigator, recommended by Karen. His name was Thomas Reed. He wasn't dramatic. He didn't make promises. He simply listened. After reviewing everything, he said Rebecca has been watching your family for at least 18 months. How do you know? She rented a property less than 2 miles from your home. I felt a chill. What? Thomas showed me photographs. Rebecca's car, the rental house, several pictures of her entering and leaving. Then he showed me something else. A photograph of Rebecca speaking to someone outside a coffee shop. I recognized the man immediately. He was the same man who had signed the custody petition as a witness. I looked at Thomas. Who is he? Her attorney. I frowned. That isn't illegal. No. He paused. But there's something else. He opened another file. The development company buying the property had hired the same law firm. I stared at the documents. So Rebecca is connected to the buyer? We haven't proved that yet. But the timing. Thomas nodded. That's what concerns me. If the property was worth $4.8 million, someone stood to make a fortune, and Rebecca was willing to destroy my family to get it. That night, I found Melissa sitting alone in the children's room. She was holding one of Noah's old school photographs. I stood in the doorway. You okay? She shook her head. I should have told you. I sat beside her. Yes. She looked at me. I thought I could handle it. You couldn't. I know. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she whispered, I wasn't sending them away because I wanted to get rid of them. I know. I was trying to keep them alive. I looked at her. What made you think they were in danger? She reached into the closet and pulled out a small box. Inside were several handwritten letters, all from Rebecca. One said you don't understand what your children are entitled to. Another said if you refuse to cooperate, they'll take the children myself. The last letter was dated only 2 weeks earlier. It contained one sentence. The sale happens Friday. Make your decision before then. I looked at the date. Thursday. Tomorrow. The property sale was scheduled for the next morning, and Rebecca believed she had only one night left. Then my phone buzzed. It was Thomas. His voice was urgent. Daniel, you need to get home. Why? We found out who is actually behind the property purchase. Who? It's not Rebecca. I stopped breathing. Then who? Thomas paused. The buyer is a company owned by someone in your own family. I stared at Melissa. What? Thomas continued. And Daniel? Yes. The company is registered to your older brother, Michael. My entire body went cold. My brother had been helping us for years. He had attended our family dinners. He had played baseball with my children. And now I was being told he might be behind the entire scheme. I looked at Melissa. She was staring at me. Neither of us spoke. Because suddenly, the person we had trusted most might have been the one who started everything. I called my brother immediately. Michael answered on the second ring. Hey, Daniel. Everything okay? I looked at Melissa. Then at Karen. Yeah, I said. I just wanted to ask you something. Sure. Do you know a company called Carter Development Group? There was a pause. It lasted only 2 seconds. But I noticed it. Why? Just answer me. Another pause. Yes. I've heard of it. It's yours. Silence. Then Michael sighed. Daniel, this isn't what you think. My stomach tightened. Then tell me what it is. I can't explain over the phone. Try. He'll come to your house. He hung up. I looked at Karen. He knows. She nodded. Then don't confront him alone. Michael arrived 40 minutes later. He walked into the living room looking exhausted. Melissa stood near the window. I remained seated. Michael looked at me. You found out about the company? He nodded. I should have told you. You should have told me that you're trying to buy land connected to my children. His face changed. That's not what I'm doing. Then what are you doing? Michael sat down. The development company belongs to my business partner. Your name is on the registration. Because I manage the investment. So you are involved. Yes. Why? He looked at Melissa. Then back at me. Because I thought I was protecting you. I almost laughed. That's what everyone keeps telling me. Michael lowered his head. Rebecca contacted me first. My anger disappeared. What did she want? She told me about the property. And she said the estate documents were being challenged. He explained that Rebecca wanted to sell the property quickly, before another claimant could stop the transaction. Michael believed the land was a legitimate investment. He didn't know about the children. At least, that's what he claimed. Then he pulled a folder from his briefcase. I found this last week. He handed it to Karen. She opened it. Inside was a copy of the original estate agreement. Karen read it carefully. Then her expression changed. Daniel, what? This isn't the full agreement. What do you mean? She turned the page. There should be another section. Michael nodded. That's why I came. He pulled out a second document. The missing page. Karen placed both documents together. Then she smiled. Not happily. Relieved. What? I asked. She pointed to the bottom. The property wasn't simply being left to Melissa's descendants. There was a condition. If anyone attempted to obtain custody of the children through deception or coercion in order to control the inheritance, the entire property would be transferred to a children's charitable foundation. I stared at the page. So Rebecca can't get the money. Correct. And neither can my children? Not through this scheme. Michael looked at me. That's why Rebecca was desperate. She had been trying to force a sale before the complete estate agreement was discovered. She needed the transaction finished before anyone could challenge it. Suddenly, the entire plan became clear. The fake photographs, the custody petition, the threats, the woman at Emma's school. Everything had been designed to create fear and confusion. And Melissa had unknowingly helped Rebecca by trying to hide the children. Then Karen noticed something else. The signature on this page. She looked at Michael. Where did you get this? My business partner gave it to me. Who? Michael hesitated. Then he said Rebecca's attorney. Karen's expression became serious. That changes things. She immediately contacted the court. The sale was stopped. The custody petition was challenged. The forged evidence was submitted. And within hours, investigators began looking into Rebecca's actions. But there was one final piece. The person who had created the fake photographs. Thomas had tracked the digital files. They had been created on a laptop registered to Rebecca Hall. The evidence was finally complete. That evening, Rebecca was confronted by investigators. She denied everything. Then they showed her the digital records. She stopped talking. For months, she had convinced herself that she was entitled to the property. She believed the only way to secure it was to gain control over the children. But Shed made one mistake. She assumed nobody would look closely at the documents. She was wrong. The case eventually went to court. Rebecca was held responsible for the forged documents and fraudulent custody petition. The property sale was permanently canceled, and the children remained exactly where they belonged, with their parents. A few weeks later, I found Melissa sitting on the porch. She looked exhausted. I owe you an apology, she said. I sat beside her. Yes, you do. She smiled sadly. I thought sending the kids away would protect them. I know. I was wrong. I looked toward the backyard. Emma and Noah were playing basketball. They needed both of us. She nodded. I know that now. Our marriage didn't magically become perfect. There were still difficult conversations. Trust had to be rebuilt. But we stayed together. Not because we forgot what happened. Because we finally stopped keeping secrets from each other. And there was one thing I learned that I will never forget. Sometimes the person who looks like they're abandoning you is actually terrified they're about to lose you. And sometimes the people trying to save a family can cause the most damage by keeping everyone in the dark. But the truth eventually catches up with every lie. And tomorrow morning, I was going to learn just how far my brother's involvement really went. Because Michael had one final document he haven't shown us yet. And according to him, it contained a name nobody in our family was expecting. The next morning, Michael came to my house before I left for work. He looked different. Not nervous this time. Just tired. He placed a thick envelope on the kitchen table. I should have shown you this weeks ago. I opened it. Inside was a copy of an old letter. The handwriting was unfamiliar. I read the first few lines. Then I stopped. The letter had been written by my mother. My mother had died 11 years earlier. I looked at Michael. Why do you have this? Because she gave it to me before she died. I continued reading. And suddenly, the entire story became even more complicated. My mother had known about the property. She had also known about Melissa's mother's family. But there was one thing I never knew. The two women had been friends. They had met years before Melissa and I ever married. My mother had promised to protect Melissa if anything happened to her. And apparently, that promise included protecting Melissa's children. I looked at Michael. So Mom knew? Yes. How much? Almost everything. I felt betrayed all over again. My own mother had carried a secret to her grave. Michael lowered his voice. She was afraid the property would attract the wrong people. Rebecca? Yes. Then he showed me another document. It was a letter from Melissa's mother. It explained why the inheritance had been structured so strangely. She didn't trust Rebecca. She believed Rebecca was obsessed with money. So she created the condition that would protect the children. If anyone attempted to manipulate custody for financial gain, the inheritance would disappear. The property would go to charity. Everything suddenly made sense. Rebecca had spent months trying to control something she could never legally own. And Melissa had been terrified because she knew exactly what Rebecca was capable of. A few months later, the court case was resolved. Rebecca was held accountable for the fraudulent documents and harassment. The property was never sold. Michael withdrew from the investment completely. He apologized to me. I accepted his apology. But our relationship changed. Trust doesn't return just because someone says they're sorry. It has to be rebuilt, day by day, choice by choice. The most important thing, though, was that Emma and Noah were safe. They stayed in their schools. They kept their friends. They kept their bedrooms. Their lives returned to normal, or at least as normal as life can be after something like that. One evening, I found Emma sitting on the porch. She was looking at the sunset. I sat beside her. Everything okay? She nodded. Then she smiled. Dad. Yeah? Are we staying? I knew exactly what she meant. I put my arm around her. Yes. For good? For good. She leaned against my shoulder. A few minutes later, Noah came outside carrying a basketball. Dad, come on. Where? I'm beating you this time. I laughed. You wish. He ran toward the driveway. Emma followed him. I watched them go. And for the first time in months, I could breathe. Melissa came outside. She sat beside me. I know I made a terrible mistake. I looked at her. You did. She nodded. I thought keeping everything from you would protect the kids. And instead, it almost tore us apart. I looked toward the children. They needed the truth. So did you. She was right. I had spent months thinking my wife had secretly given our children away. The truth was more complicated. She had been trying to protect them from someone who wanted to use them. But she made one terrible decision. She protected them by keeping their father in the dark. And that nearly destroyed the family she was trying to save. A year later, we sold the old house. Not because we had to, because we wanted a fresh start. We bought a smaller home about 20 minutes away. No hidden rooms. No secret documents. No mysterious envelopes. Just 4 people trying to rebuild their lives. The property connected to Melissa's family was eventually transferred to a children's medical charity, exactly as the original agreement required. I sometimes think about how close we came to losing everything. Not because of money, because of fear, because people kept making decisions for one another instead of simply telling the truth. The strangest part? The title of this story could easily have been, My Wife Secretly Gave Our Children Away. And technically, that's what it looked like. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was that my wife thought she was saving them. She was wrong about how to do it. But she wasn't trying to abandon them. She was terrified. And sometimes the biggest family secrets aren't created by hatred. They're created by fear. If there's one thing I learned from everything that happened, it's this: protecting someone doesn't mean hiding the truth from them. Sometimes the person you're trying to protect needs to stand beside you. Not behind you. Not in the dark. Beside you. Today, Emma is 17. Noah is 13. And whenever I look at them, I still remember the night I thought I was going to lose them. But I didn't. We survived. Our family survived. And the secret that nearly destroyed us ended up teaching us something we should have understood from the beginning. A family cannot be protected by secrets forever. Eventually, the truth has to come home. If you made it this far, tell me in the comments if you were Daniel. Could you forgive your wife for hiding something this serious from you? Or would the trust be impossible to rebuild? And if you enjoyed this emotional family story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more stories of secrets, betrayal, and unexpected twists.